Sean Hook's Newsmaker Saturday starts now.
Thanks for joining us on Newsmaker Saturday. What is the best way to educate our children? When that question arises, the discussion eventually turns to the issue of school choice. Arizona has been a pioneer in school choice now for 25 years. Nearly 1 million students attend publicly funded K-12 schools in Arizona, but 250,000, 1 out of every 4, attend one of more than 700 charter schools in the state. The premise has been in Arizona, give parents options to do what they think is best for their child. But opponents say this siphons money away from public schools and harms the most vulnerable. We're going to talk about it for the next entirety of the program. Lisa Graham Keegan, former superintendent of public instruction. She favors school choice. Beth Lewis is from Save Our Schools. She's reticent. not exactly in favor of it. So thanks to both of you for being here.
Pleasure.
Let me start with just an overarching. Is choice, Beth, a good thing for parents and students?
Yeah, I think Arizona has, like you said, robust choice. We have open enrollment. Families have tremendous options between district schools and charter schools, which are all publicly funded. The issue that Save Our Schools Arizona is facing is this unfettered ESA voucher program that is a really irresponsible use of taxpayer funds.
Which expanded greatly under Governor Ducey in the last legislature. So you don't like that it's not the funding mechanism to support it and that it'll end up drawing away from public schools, the traditional public schools?
Yeah, absolutely. So the JLBC, which is the, the legislative budget body, has come forth and said that there are $200 million in unbudgeted costs for this year, and that will balloon to $376 million the next year. The director has said he's really never seen anything like this. He's shocked that the legislature would irresponsibly pass a program that's not funded.
We do have a surplus. Are they thinking they'll draw from that? Is that the idea?
Maybe. I think the economic projections in the next couple of years are showing that there is no surplus in 2 years. So this is sort of kicking the can down the road. And that has to come from somewhere. If we're using it there, we're not using it for roads. We're not using it for local public schools. We're not lifting local public schools out of their spot, which is 47th in the nation in per student spending.
Okay, Lisa Graham Keegan, you were the superintendent of public instruction, so you had to look after traditional public schools, but you ran on choice. Choice was a big part of what you did.
So I ran on the fact that public support should go to public school students, all students in Arizona.
And charters are public schools.
Charters are public schools. The ESA allows parents to even choose a private school. That's really what this is about. So they can choose to go to a private school, and then that money is, the parent will apply to the state and say, hey, my child would otherwise have received this much money in Arizona.
ESA is Empowerment Scholarship Account, $7,000.
More or less, all of the money in Arizona follows kids, John. So there's a formula, and depending on the student's needs. So if a child has special needs, they might be 2 times as much as a normal child. It just depends. It's a good feature of Arizona's law, but schools get money because a child shows up in a school. So
fannies in the seats.
Fannies in the seats. And in Arizona, because you can choose a school, there's a lot of disruption in whether parents want to be in this assigned school or they want to choose another public school, or now with the ESA applicable to anybody who wants it, they can go into private schools. And one of the things that happened, and Beth and I will agree, JLBC did not do a good job projecting here. They didn't realize, look, everybody who is already in a private school is obviously going to want this. They're going to want to be reimbursed. What it does that I think is most important, since my work is with low-income families, is it allows families who never had access to a private school, and they think that's a perfect fit for their child. They now have access to that. I think that's important.
So, Beth, where's the data supporting that kids who are in those low-income areas actually end up going to a private school?
Yeah, so the data is not there. The vast majority are coming from, wealthier districts. It's hard to kind of dial in because there's not a lot of transparency around the program, but we do know that, many of the students that were already attending private school could already afford private school, and they're taking in that money. I think it's really important to also point out that a lot of these folks are not using it for private school. They're using it for home education, and it's a really interesting way that we're using our taxpayer dollars. Superintendent Horn bragged that he approved $22 million in one day. over 22,000 reimbursements. Those were Venmo purchases for in-home tutors, gourmet coffee machines, all sorts of wild expenses that are being, justified as educational, and the parents just download any curriculum they want and call that a home education and recoup $7,000 per child.
But they've got to invoice specific expenses, and a coffee maker is actually not something they should get approved for. So I would agree with you there, but
Definitely.
that's not how that works.
And they've got bounce houses, water filtration systems, designer bar stools. I mean,
we're going to both
wild,
agree
so.
there's things that should not be reimbursed, John. So I'm not going to argue about that. In the main, the reason there's not currently very many low-income families applying for reimbursement for their private tuition, they haven't been able to afford to go before. So we don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully you get, if there are low-income families who want to attend a school close to them that is private, that they think is a great fit, they'll be able to do that. We'll see. We'll see. But right now, sure, the majority of parents who are in a private school that will apply for the ESA, they would have had the financial means to do that. I'm not worried about them.
Full disclosure, our 3 kids all went to traditional public schools, district schools.
Yeah.
And there was a debate in our family about a couple of them. Do we send them to some type of charter or private school?
Sure.
And I would argue with my wife about this and say, I've been paying taxes in this district for schooling for 25 years.
Right.
It's time to reap the benefit of that outlay.
Right.
So,
well, why shouldn't private school families, they've been paying taxes forever for schooling. All of us pay taxes for schooling,
right.
and I'm happy to do it. I just have grandkids now. But of course, but I don't think there's any reason we should say, look, the money is not for schools, the money is for the student. It should travel with the student to a school that works for them. Look, the impact on any school is the same. Had you made a decision, and you did, to move from your assigned school into another district school,
right.
The impact on the school you left is exactly the same as if you'd chosen to go to a private school. They lost that money. Because when the child leaves, the money leaves. Money should follow students. And we should be most concerned it's to an excellent school. Okay,
so Beth, what's the problem with that? Why not let the money follow the student, give the parents and the student the ultimate choice of where they want to go?
Yeah, I mean, there are quite a lot of issues there. One thing being that the school is the one doing the choosing, right? So even if I were to get a voucher and my student maybe had an IEP or had special needs, the private school doesn't have to accept my student. Now with home education, of course, I would accept my own student. But I think that taxpayers are really having a lot of questions right now about why am I funding all of these wild home education expenses or private school expenses that may go to schools that discriminate on the basis of, sexual orientation, gender, faith, all sorts of things. And I think that, we as taxpayers really want those public funds to stay in public schools. Voters did weigh in 2018 and they said that. So we do have pretty recent data to support that. And, I think that it could be a different conversation if we weren't 47th in funding for local schools that serve 1 million kids, and that's for charter and for district schools. But unfortunately, we've made some modest investments in the last few years. It's not enough to move the needle.
Yeah, that is, and it is interesting because we remain mired in the bottom of the rankings despite 17.3% increase in per pupil funding between 2015 and 2020. But that still is behind the national average of 18.5%. It seems like we can't get ahead of the curve here.
You want to know how to get ahead of the curve?
Tell me.
Put everybody in the same boat. You don't think there's now going to be huge advocacy on the part of private school parents for a greater per pupil amount of money? I guarantee you, nobody loves money like a conservative when it's theirs. I mean, I'm just saying that think about it this way, John. You just said we all pay taxes for schooling. All parents now with a child in a school have the ability to spend that state investment wherever they want, and they will want that investment to be as high as it can be. One of the problems is when you exclude people who can afford private school from being worried about how much we're funding kids with every year. They don't argue, they don't go down to the legislature. We just got those voices involved in the mix. To me, that's a really positive thing. I would like to see us make an investment, as much investment as we can for high quality education.
Did anybody consider down there an income threshold to say if you're over a certain amount that you make per year, you can't take advantage of this deal?
We asked that same question repeatedly last session, and there was a refusal to do so. I was told that the Republican lawmakers leading the charge on this were told their rich constituents wanted it to fund their private schools. I'm just repeating the facts. And we know that there's a huge gap that remains. Right now, we're seeing private schools raise their tuition, and magically, sometimes by about $7,000. I think anytime you have a profit opportunity and a profit model, people are going to reap the benefits.
Listen,
that's interesting. You're saying the Brophies and Xaviers of the world are going to raise their rates knowing that there's a windfall coming?
We're already seeing some schools do that. We're also seeing new charter schools that are converting to private. So Great Hearts is opening up some new schools, and that's fine, that's their prerogative, but they're doing that, they're stating that they're doing that to reap ESA funding. And there's no limits to how much money they can take in, and there's no limits to which kids they take and which kids they don't take. I'm a public school teacher. I've been teaching in Arizona for 12 years. We take the students we get, we meet them where they are, and we lift them up, and that's the beauty of a community public school. There's no picking and choosing. And that is the key difference between public school and private school.
There's a lot of picking and choosing on whether you're able to live in a community that has a high quality school.
That's why we have open enrollment, which is fabulous.
All right, and we can talk about whether wealthy schools accept a lot of the kids who want to come to them. It is not a perfect system for sure, open enrollment. So we already have a system where if you are wealthy, the likelihood is better that your kids are going to be in a high quality school. Why don't we bring all these barriers down, as we have tried to on the public side? Let kids go to a really excellent school that might be private. I don't know why we care who is making money from this, unless they're being fraudulent, they're buying coffee makers. That's not an educational expense, but that's in the main is not mostly what's happening. Mostly what is happening is people are going to pay for tuition at schools. Yes, I totally agree that prices can change just as they are in the traditional system when there is more money around. This is something that happens. We've got to stay focused on how much money are we going to spend per child in Arizona? Are we willing to make that investment? As you say, it's actually about 20% increase in recent years in the per pupil amount of funding, which is great. We'd love to have it be more. I think we're on a trajectory, and it's going to continue to go up. Can that money be used in a school or a setting that works for a child, public or private? We should be focused on that first.
We weren't going to get into the debate about funding for overall education, but it is remarkable. In the governor's new budget, Governor Hobbs, the budget, I think, is about 17 some odd billion. Mm-hmm. $9 billion is earmarked for education.
And
I mean, we keep hearing we don't spend enough on education. We're spending more than half the budget now on education.
Our budget is very small considering our per capita, and part of the reason for that is we're giving away $24.5 billion in tax credits and expenditures every year. So our revenue, we're revenue rich, but we're not keeping a hold of that for our people, for schools, for transportation, for healthcare. And that's something that, Governor Ducey and the Republican-led legislature have absolutely abdicated their duty. They're giving away money.
Listen,
why not?
Well, that's not true. Beth, first of all, our job is to worry, I think, as educators about how much money is going in educationally. And Governor Ducey, on his way out with the Democrat, really, they pushed. I give the Democrats credit for this huge increase in per pupil funding last year. The other thing is, and this is critical, if there were an immediate relationship between the amount we spend and the quality of education, I would be all over it. Tell me the dollar amount, let's do it. I can show you school after school after school in the public sector with a very high per pupil amount that cannot achieve on behalf of kids. That's not okay. There's not that relationship, and there's lots of it.
And this brings to mind the example. Now, granted, societally, it's a different mix. But Utah ranks 51st in spending on education.
That's right.
But in testing, math and reading, they're near the top.
Always.
Right. And part of that is because family income is so high, and there's so much support for those kids, and literacy rates are so much higher, and there's so many more families that can afford to, kind of develop reading and preschool and all of those things that really go into those early years that help with the testing. And we don't have that here. We really don't. We have very high poverty here in Arizona. But I want to get back to education. I agree with you there. You know, I've been in the classroom for 12 years, and I really, it really bothers me when people say that you can't throw money at the problem or try to say that money is not part of the solution.
I didn't say it wasn't part.
Okay. Well, I
said it's
I've
not
been
the
in
solution.
schools where very Title I students really need a lot, and you know, we're sharing counselors with 3 other schools. We're sharing music teachers. We don't have psychologists. We don't have enough staff on hand. We don't have the amazing staff of interventionists and aides and people who are extremely expensive, but who really raise up those test scores because they're really helping teachers target those interventions and that learning. I, as a teacher, have filled out, I can't even tell you how many grants for the most basic classroom supplies. I'm the PTO president at my school this year, and we put out a grant request for mini grants, and it would have broken your heart to see what the teachers were asking for in December. They needed dry erase markers, they needed crayons. I thought they were gonna ask for, you know, cool like Lego solar power kits or something extra. It was just the basics.
Well,
and that's where we are.
Which is sometimes hard to understand. The state spends about $7,000 per pupil. The other half of that comes from local taxes. $11,000 per pupil, and not even close to what's getting spent nationally, I agree. But Arizona, not only are we a poor state, and Beth and I will agree on that, we just don't make as much money as everybody else. Our costs are not always this high. I'm not going to argue for less money in education ever, but I'm also not going to say that it's not the case. We've got a ton of very low funded schools that are just crushing it. They are doing a phenomenal job. That's who I work with.
Do we know why that's happening?
Yes, because their teachers are like Beth. They're fantastic. They're fantastic. They're culturally aligned. This is what we're going to do for kids.
Less funding?
They do receive less funding. They do receive less funding than average.
Because they don't have the bonding authority?
And they're still doing great.
Okay.
I'm happy to give you a list. Okay.
Well, because there is just
happy to
the
give you a list.
general, I mean, there's some wiggle room, but there wouldn't be any school that would be receiving significantly less money, maybe from the state because of property tax.
We're going to take a break right there. Lisa Graham Keegan, former superintendent of public instruction, favors school choice. Beth Lewis from Save Our Schools. She's a teacher. She's passionate about this, as you saw. We're back in a moment on Newsmaker Saturday talking about school choice. It's one of the biggest issues in the state. Back in a minute. Back on Newsmaker Saturday, Lisa Graham Keegan, former superintendent of public instruction. We've been talking about school choice. She favors it. Beth Lewis, a teacher from Save Our Schools. You're okay with choice, but you're not crazy about this voucher idea.
Right, I think that most of our choices with open enrollment, district and charter schools have public transparency. So I know that my public taxpayer dollars are going to be monitored, that there's going to be oversight. They have to open up their books to us.
Are charters working in your view?
And academic accountability.
Are charters working in your view?
It really depends. I mean, there's no monolithic like all district, all charter. I think in some areas they're great, and in some areas they're just, you know, for profit and not necessarily helping the kids that they need to help.
We keep hearing there's not enough accountability for charter schools, that they're kind of doing their own thing, but the testing, state testing is the same, right? For whether it's a district traditional.
As a class, if you look at it that way, and that's a bad way to look at schools, whether they're district or charter. You got to look at the school itself. Charter schools are going to perform a little bit better per grade in subjects as a class against district schools. That's a difficult thing, though, because charter schools, if they get put out of business by the state board for charter schools if they're not performing. They've got a contractual obligation. And so district schools is a little, I think it's more difficult to take that really big group of schools and put that on them the same way. It's a very different thing. But I would say academically, you got to look at the individual school. Arizona, we've been blessed by really great teachers in Arizona. Up until the pandemic, John, we were one of the fastest improving states academically in the public school sector. Just amazing. And really, hands off to Beth and to other teachers who are committing themselves to public education in Arizona. We also have some exceptional private schools. They do a fantastic job. As Beth is pointing out, we've now got homeschooling in this mix, which will be really interesting. Up until this law passed just recently at the ESA that said all parents in private education, including homeschooling, can apply to be reimbursed for their instructional program. We'll see what happens. So it's important to remember all of us are paying into this system. We want education the best we can get as quickly as we can, particularly after the pandemic. We had a horrible academic slide. You can blame that on whatever you want. I think, obviously, having kids out of school for a year is not a bonus.
No doubt. I saw it with my kids. Okay, is there any evidence that choice is raising the traditional public school?
Yes.
That competition is improving the local public school?
Arizona is evidence, right?
You think it is?
Absolutely. So you can watch the trajectory since the evolution of public open enrollment, where you can go from, that came first, from district school to district school across district boundaries if you want to. Public charter schools came in at exactly the same time we allowed that district open enrollment to be free. There was a time in Arizona when districts were charging kids to come in if they weren't part of that district. It's all free. Then we have public charter schools, and as we've had, the more choice we've had, gradually, we've increased academic.
Test scores have gotten better.
Yeah, yes.
Beth, do you worry that the charters, I'm thinking of the basis of the world, are siphoning away the best students, and that's depressing test scores in the traditional public school?
No, our test scores are doing fabulous. We're on par with the national average, which, you know, I think is amazing considering the fact that we're funded
so we're
so
funding,
low.
We're funding at the bottom, but our test scores are right
because
in the
our
middle.
teachers are incredible. And
so some would say that is a great return on investment.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Arizona teachers have to do more and more with less and less every single year to accomplish it, and they're breaking and they're leaving the profession in droves because they're not being paid an adequate living wage, and because they are covering the jobs of all of those positions that I just told you we don't have because there is no funding. And I think what is being lost in all of this is that the ESA voucher, the new universal expansion, is subtracting funding from our local public schools. Special interest lied and said that it would save districts money. They lied and they said that it would increase public school funding. Those were outright lies because
did public funding increase?
80% of students that are taking this money did not have any money allocated to them because they had already chosen private school or homeschool, that was their family's choice. When they take that voucher, it is a direct subtraction from the general fund. It is a direct subtraction from our local public schools. And I don't see how you, as a moral person, can do that to the kids who are sitting there and don't have dry erase markers and they don't have a permanent teacher, because all the teachers are leaving because there is no pay for them and there's no support for them.
Lisa,
Beth, I know you're passionate about this, but being a moral person includes wanting to make sure kids have access to a school that works for them. It includes insisting that the state increase their per pupil investment in students, which this state has done every year for the past 5 years at least. And I know it's not where you want it to be, but it is increasing, and we have to be honest about that. I will agree with you that teachers don't have what they need, and I'm asking the question why. One of the transparency pieces we need, John, is where is the money that
I think everybody's asking that.
Listen,
they think a lot of money.
And now,
in the nation.
Beth, it doesn't mean that a school should not have to say when they get more money year over year, did they give teachers a raise? Don't you think that if I got 20% more money this year than last, should I not turn that into some teacher raises? I should.
I think the public's expecting that.
Well, we've passed a law and
we
said,
have
look,
gotten
every
raises, but
school,
it's not.
enough.
So where's that money going quickly?
New Mexico has gone from 46 in the nation to 35th in just 2 years because they invested in teachers. They gave everybody a $10,000 raise, and that was expensive, but they did it, and it mattered.
And we tried to do it in Arizona. As you remember, we put up the money for a 20% increase, and it wasn't delivered because it wasn't mandatory. Then it got used for that.
Thank you both. Really.
John, thank you.
Good to see you both. It's a great discussion. Beth Lewis, Lisa Graham Keegan. We're back in a minute on Newsmaker Saturday.